The message arrived at dawn, carried by a wounded scout who collapsed at the edge of the human settlement. Corin of the Emberclaw, the massive beast alpha whose kind had roamed the volcanic ridges of Paraxis IV for 10,000 years, stood before the council chamber with rage burning in his amber eyes. "They took them," he growled, his voice like grinding stone. 15 cubs, my daughter among them. The Emberclaw were apex predators, 3 meters tall, covered in obsidian scales that shimmered with inner fire, claws that could rend steel. They had never asked anyone for help. They had never needed to. But the poachers who came from the outer systems brought technology the Emberclaw couldn't counter. Stun nets woven with neural disruptors, ships that appeared and vanished like ghosts, and weapons that turned their greatest warriors into twitching heaps before they could even charge. Seren Vale stepped forward from the human delegation. She was small compared to Corin. Most humans were small compared to the Emberclaw. But there was something in her eyes that made the beast alpha pause. Not fear, not pity, understanding. "How long ago?" Seren asked. 6 hours. They have a fortress in the Ashfall Canyons, shielded, fortified. My warriors cannot breach it without... Corin's voice cracked, something the Emberclaw never did, without killing the cubs in the crossfire. Seren nodded slowly. "Then your warriors stay here. I'll go alone." The council chamber erupted. The Emberclaw roared their objections. Even the human diplomats protested. One human against a fortified poacher base? Madness, suicide. Corin silenced them all with a snarl. He stepped closer to Seren, lowering his massive head until his eyes were level with hers.
"Why would you do this, human?"
"We have been distant neighbors at best." Seren met his gaze without flinching. "Because they're children. And because I've been hunting poachers for 12 years. I know how they think," she paused. "And I know what they fear." What could they possibly fear from one unarmed human? Seren smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "They fear what I represent. Humans don't have scales or claws or venom. We're not the strongest or the fastest, but we're the species that turned pursuit predation into an art form. We're the ones who tracked prey for days across continents on our homeworld. We don't give up. We don't stop. And when you take our children, or the children of those we've chosen to stand with, we become the nightmare that hunts the hunters." Corin studied her for a long moment, then dipped his head in a gesture of respect. "Bring them home, Seren Vale." The Ashfall Canyons were a maze of volcanic glass and superheated steam vents. Seren moved through them like a shadow, her environmental suit's thermal regulators working overtime. The poacher fortress sat in the canyon's heart, a prefabricated military structure bristling with automated turrets and sensor arrays. Seren didn't try to sneak past the sensors. Instead, she walked straight toward the main entrance and triggered every alarm. The doors hissed open. A Vrex poacher, reptilian heavily armed, stepped out with 4 others. "You're either very brave or very stupid, human." "Neither," Seren replied calmly. "I'm here for the cubs." The Vrex laughed, a sound like rattling chains. 15 Emberclaw cubs will fetch us enough credits to retire. You think we'll just hand them over because one little human asked nicely? No, Seren said. I think you'll hand them over because you've studied human history and you know what happens when you don't. The leader's laughter died. You're bluffing. You're alone. Seren tapped her wrist device. A holographic display appeared showing real-time feeds from 17 different human vessels entering Paraxis V's orbit. Destroyers, frigates, a carrier. Alone? Seren echoed. You took children under human protection. Did you really think the Terran Alliance would let that slide? Right now, those ships are calculating firing solutions. They won't hit this fortress. Too much risk to the cubs. But every escape route you have, every ship you came in, already gone, reduced to atoms 3 minutes ago. The Vrex's scales paled. You're insane. You'd start an interstellar incident over alien cubs? Wrong question, Seren said coldly. The right question is, do you know why humans are banned from 17 systems? Why the Kryn hegemony paid us to leave their space and never come back? It's not because we're aggressive. It's because we form pact bonds with anyone we choose to protect. Cross that line and you don't face one human. You face all of us. She took a step forward. Those cubs? They're ours now. Just like the Emberclaw are ours. Just like every species in this sector that asked for our friendship. And humans protect their pack. The fortress doors opened wider. The Vrex poachers filed out, pushing hover cages containing the cubs. 15 small Emberclaw, their scales still soft, their eyes wide with fear. "Take them," the leader spat. But this isn't over. Seren began releasing the cubs from their cages, speaking softly to each one. "It is over. Because here's what happens next. You leave Pyraxis full and never return. You spread the word in every poacher den, every black market station. Emberclaw cubs are off limits. All of them, forever. And if we don't?" Seren looked up, and the temperature in the canyon seemed to drop. "Then humanity will show you why we're the only species that domesticated wolves, befriended apex predators on our own world, and turned Death World Survivor into our defining characteristic. We'll hunt you. Not for days or weeks, for years, generations. We'll make it our mission. Because that's what humans do when you threaten our pack." The poachers left within the hour. Corin stood at the canyon's edge, surrounded by his warriors, when Seren emerged with all 15 cubs. The young Emberclaw ran to their families, chirping and crying in relief. Corin approached Seren slowly, then did something unprecedented. He lowered himself to all fours, a gesture of ultimate respect among his kind. "You have given us more than our children, Seren Vale. You have given us hope that we are not alone in this universe." Seren knelt and placed a hand on his scaled forehead. "You were never alone, Corin. You just didn't know humans yet. And now that you do, now that we're pack, no one will ever take your children again. That's a promise." From that day forward, the Emberclaw and humanity stood together, and across the galaxy, poachers learned a hard lesson. Never threaten the young of any species that humans call friend. Because humans don't just fight for themselves, they fight for their pack, and they never ever stop.